All right, here we go. So we got some practice today for Unit 2, Lesson 9 for Algebra 2, okay? So really, we're just trying to practice more of what we did from Lesson 8, okay? I am going to try and contrast here when we do have a coefficient in front of x squared and when we don't, and then hopefully give you a little hint for being a little quicker with it, okay? All right, so let's start out with what we're doing. So we're going to create our x here for what they need to multiply and what they need to add to when we factor. And remember, our goal here is we're going to bring down that first term, we're going to bring down that last term, and then from there we're going to split the middle, okay? So I see the negative 3x, I'm going to split that up. So over here, I'm going to bring down the x squared, I'm going to bring down the negative 48, and then like I said, I'm going to split the middle here, okay? All right, so now I create what do they need to multiply to and what do they need to add to. So remember, it's the first term times the last term. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, and they have to add to that middle term, which is negative 3. Okay, here there's no number in front, so it's implied to be a 1. 1 times negative 48, multiply negative 48, add to that middle term, which is a 2. Okay, so from here I just need to go back, like I said before, think about my 5th and 6th grade math skills to come up with the numbers that work. So in this case, two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to negative 3. Well, the only numbers that can multiply to 10 at all are 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. There's no way I can get 1 and 10 to add to 3, so this is out. So I know I need 2 and 5. Since it has to multiply to negative 10, one of them needs to be negative. Well, now I look at it. It's got to add to negative 3. So if they have to add to a negative, the bigger number has to be negative. So I'm going to have my positive 2 here, my negative 5 here. So now I'm just going to write them down. Now I can write these in whichever order I want. So I'm going to pair them up with the number that's most similar to the number itself. So I see my negative 5, I'm going to toss that right here. I see my 2x, I'm going to toss that right here. And again, if you get here, now this is just like what we did from lesson 6. So we just work through the 4-term polynomial. So my GCF here is 5x. I take out a 5x. I divide, I'm left with x minus 1. My GCF here is a 2. I divide, and I have an x minus 1. At this point, you know you're correct if the two insides match. So if they do, you write that one time, and then the two GCFs form the other factor. So there we go. Okay, let's show that on this one, and then I'll show you a shortcut at the end that will only apply to these types of problems. So again, I need to multiply to negative 48 and add to 2. So numbers that can multiply 48, 48 and 1, 24 and 2, okay, 16 and 3, 4 and 12, 6 and 8, okay? Well, they've got to add to 2, so they got to be 2 away from each other because they have to multiply to negative 48. So the ones that are 2 away from each other are 8 and 6. So I know I need 8 and 6, and now I just have to figure out what signs. Well, if it has to add to 2, whatever the number is it has to add to, that's the sign it has to be if they multiply to a negative. So I need a positive 8 and a negative 6. Okay, so I'm going to show this the long way, similar to what I did here, and then show you a shortcut that only applies to these problems. So now I'm going to bring down my plus 8. Remember, I've got to include the variable with it. I bring down my negative 6 with the variable, so with the x. I GCF an x out, x plus 8. I GCF a negative 6 out, x plus 8. These match, so I write that one time, and then the two GCFs here form my other factor. Okay, now, to show the shortcut, this only works if there's a coefficient of 1 out here, meaning no coefficient at all. If you're doing this, this only works in that way. If there's no coefficient out here, once I get these terms, positive 8 and negative 6, all I do is write them with the variable. So x plus 8 and x minus 6, and that's the answer. And you can skip all of that and just get to the answer. Again though, notice here, that does not work when there's a coefficient out in front. When there's a coefficient out in front, you have no choice but to do these steps. Okay? Because if I just wrote x plus 2 and x minus 5, notice that's not even close to the right answer. Okay? Now, if you don't feel comfortable skipping those steps or you're not sure when, do all the workout. It will always be correct. All right, hope this helps.